They told you that we only use 10% of our brain. You probably heard that cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis. Or maybe you've been warned that swallowing gum means it will stay in your stomach for 7 years. These are the facts most of us grew up believing, repeated so often they sound like universal truths. But what if I told you they're nothing more than illusions, stories passed down, never questioned? Imagine building your decisions, fears, even your habits on something that was never real in the first place. It's like living inside a magic trick, convinced the impossible is true. And here's the shocking part. Some of these myths aren't harmless at all. They shape the way we think, the choices we make, and the way we see ourselves. Today, we're pulling back the curtain to expose the mind-blowing truth behind the world's most popular myths. Myths have power because they're easy to believe. They sneak into our minds through childhood stories, catchy phrases, and even our classrooms. The more we hear them, the more they sound like truth. Think about it. How many times have you repeated a fact without ever checking if it was real? It's not your fault. It's human nature. Our brains are wired to trust repetition, to accept what everyone around us seems to know. And when myths get wrapped inside movies, books, or family traditions, they feel even more real. Take Hollywood, for example. It has turned half-truths into cultural wisdom for decades. From gladiators fighting lions to Vikings wearing horn helmets, fiction became fact in our collective memory. We love stories that are simple, dramatic, and easy to pass on. But the truth? It's usually more complicated. Science has been fighting to correct these falsehoods for years, yet they refuse to die. Why? Because myths are sticky, they're entertaining, they're emotional, and they're memorable. And the scary part is, some myths aren't just funny or harmless. They can actually mislead us in dangerous ways. They affect health choices, confidence, and even the way people see their own abilities. Imagine holding yourself back because of a belief that was never true. That's exactly what millions of people do every day, without even realizing it. But here's the good news. The truth is out there, waiting to replace the lies. Once you hear it, you'll never see these myths the same way again. So let's dive in and uncover the shocking reality behind some of the most popular myths you thought were true. You probably heard the claim that we only use 10% of our brains. It sounds fascinating, doesn't it? Imagine unlocking the other 90% like a superpower. That idea has fueled movies, self-help books, and even motivational speeches. But here's the truth. Brain scans show activity across nearly every region, even when we're resting. We're not sitting on a gold mine of unused potential. We're already using it every single day. The myth survives because it's inspiring, but it's a fantasy. Another classic myth says that cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis. Parents scold kids for it. Teachers glare when they hear the sound. The belief stuck because it feels logical. Noise equals damage, right? But medical studies prove otherwise. The sound comes from harmless bubbles popping in joint fluid, not your bones grinding apart. In fact, there's no evidence linking knuckle cracking to arthritis at all. So next time someone gives you the look, you can smile knowing the truth. Let's move to one you definitely grew up hearing. Swallowing gum stays in your stomach for 7 years. It's the kind of warning adults use to scare kids into behaving. The logic seems convincing because gum doesn't break down like normal food. But here's the reality. Your digestive system is smarter than that. The gum passes through your system just like anything else, usually within days. It doesn't cling to your stomach lining. It doesn't live there for years. It's just another urban legend. Then there's the idea that shaving makes your hair grow back thicker and darker. Every teenager who picked up a razor believed this one. It feels true because stubble looks sharper when it first grows in. But scientifically, shaving doesn't change the thickness, color, or growth rate of hair. The blunt edges of new hair just make it appear more noticeable. It's an illusion, not biology, yet people still base grooming decisions on it. And finally, one of the biggest myths out there, goldfish only have a 3-second memory. It's almost a running joke, making goldfish the dumb pet of the animal world. But researchers have shown goldfish can remember things for months, not seconds. They can be trained to recognize sounds, routines, and even their owners. The truth is, their memory works just fine. It's our understanding that was flawed. This myth survived because it was funny, easy to repeat, and no one bothered to fact check. When you look at all these myths side by side, a pattern emerges. They're simple, they're catchy, and they play on our emotions. They make us laugh, scare us a little, or inspire us. But once science and psychology step in, the truth usually tells a very different story. And that's where things get interesting, because these myths reveal more about human nature than about reality itself. They show how easily we can be convinced by repetition, authority, or just a good story. And they remind us that our beliefs aren't always based on facts. They're often based on myths. So, what do we actually learn from all this? The biggest lesson is that not everything we hear, even if it's repeated for decades, is true. Our minds are naturally drawn to stories that sound simple, dramatic, or mysterious. That's why myths spread so fast, while the truth often struggles to keep up. But here's the thing, you don't have to be trapped by them. The first step is awareness. Whenever you hear a popular fact, pause for a moment and ask yourself, where did this come from? Was it something you learned in school or just something you've always heard? Chances are, if the source is vague, it deserves a second look. Another powerful tool is curiosity. Instead of accepting things at face value, dig deeper. A quick search from a credible source can change your perspective instantly. It doesn't mean you have to question everything obsessively. It just means you stay open to the possibility of being wrong. And believe me, the smartest people in history are the ones who were willing to admit they didn't know everything. It also helps to understand why myths survive in the first place. They make life feel easier by offering quick answers. They entertain us, comfort us, and sometimes even protect us. But convenience doesn't equal truth. If a story sounds too neat, too exaggerated, or too widely accepted without evidence, that's usually a red flag. Here's something else to remember. Myths aren't just about science or history. They shape how we see ourselves. Think about the brain myth. How many people doubted their own intelligence because they thought they were only using 10%? Think about the hair myth. How many teenagers stressed over their appearance because they believed shaving would make it worse? These ideas may seem small, but they create invisible limits. They stop people from seeing their true potential. By breaking free from myths, you're not just learning trivia. You're reclaiming control over your mind. You're choosing facts over fear, knowledge over repetition. That doesn't make life boring. In fact, it makes life richer because the truth is often more fascinating than the myth ever was. The next time someone repeats one of these so-called facts, you have two choices. You can smile and let it pass, or you can share what you've learned and break the chain. Each time you do that, you're helping others escape the same illusions. And that's how change spreads, one truth at a time. Remember, myths only survive when people stop questioning. The moment you start asking why, you take away their power. And once you replace them with truth, you'll see the world with a clarity you never had before. At the end of the day, myths are more than just harmless stories. They shape the way we see the world. They decide what we fear, what we believe, and sometimes even what we think we're capable of. But once you know the truth, you can't unsee it. The curtain has been lifted and the illusion is gone. Think about how many facts you've carried your whole life that may never have been real. What other parts of your world could be built on the same kind of illusions? That's the real question myths leave us with. They remind us that being human means living between what feels true and what is true. The good news? You now have the power to tell the difference. You're not just a passive believer. You're an active thinker. And in a world full of noise, that makes you rare. That makes you strong. So the next time someone says, don't crack your knuckles, or you only use 10% of your brain, you'll smile because you'll know better. And that moment of clarity is a gift you can pass on. Share the truth, challenge a myth, and watch how it changes the way people think. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these myths shocked you the most? Was it the brain myth, the gum myth, or the goldfish myth? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to see what surprised you. And if you want more truth bombs that shatter everyday beliefs, hit that like button. Subscribe for more, because the next myth we uncover might just be the one you believed your entire life. Until then, stay curious, stay questioning, and never stop searching for the truth.